Now I come to the next battle, which was a mental battle. This was a battle not with religion, but with philosophy. And it was a battle not with the Jews, but with the Greeks. The Greeks were the brilliant thinkers. The Greeks were the intellectuals. The Greeks were the know-alls. The Greeks were the scholars. The Greeks were the students. The Greeks were the philosophers. And sooner or later, Christianity was going to come in contact with the intellectuals. And the biggest danger then was going to be that the intellectuals would succeed in altering Christianity, in producing what they said would be a more superior form of it, in compromising and changing the truth to fit the intellect. Now this is still one of the major battles we've got to fight. Christianity can't be altered to fit the intellect. And there are many questions that I have with my intellect that I still haven't got answered. But thank God I got to the point where I was prepared to believe before I got my intellect entirely satisfied. Now let's see what happened. This was a much more difficult battle because it was a battle inside the church, not outside it. And it was a battle that had to be fought with words and with the pen. And some of the best writings we have from the early church history come from this battle. A man called Irenaeus wrote 5 books under the title Against Heresies. And thank God he did. He was one of the great soldiers of this battle. And another man called Origen wrote 6,000 books, letters and pamphlets in this battle. Think of the labors of that man. And I've got a little book here which contains most of those writings that are the words that were the weapons in this battle. Shall I tell you some of the things they had to fight? There was a man called Marcian. Now you'd think this was some youngster today in the 6th form at a grammar school talking. Marcian said, I don't like a God of wrath. And I can't understand the God of the Old Testament. And I'm quite sure the God of the Old Testament is a different God to the God of the New Testament and Jesus. Now that's what he said. And you know, I've had that said to me by young people today. And so he said, right, what shall we do? We'll cut the Old Testament out of the Bible. We're going to be New Testament people. So he cut that out. And then he found to his dismay that he had to start chopping a bit of the New Testament out. He didn't like the book of Revelation at all. That was much too like the Old Testament, so out went that. With his scissors in his hand, he began to look at Paul, and he said, you know, Paul said some rather nasty things. Out they went. And then he found that even the Gospels he wasn't altogether happy about. Jesus said a few things there that he shouldn't have said. And he was the first to discover that when you apply the scissors to the Bible, you can't stop. Now here was one of the first battles. And he finished up with 2 gods, the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New. And that's a heresy that we still have to fight. And so people fought it. And the reason why I'm able to read you from both the Old and New Testament and read you the whole Word of God tonight is because Marcian lost that battle. And because the Christians said we're going to stay with the whole Word. However difficult it is to understand things in the Old Testament or even in the New for that matter, however difficult my intellect finds it, we're not going to start cutting about this book until we understand it. And the battle was won, and we've got the whole Bible tonight.